I know this is going to be everybody's favorite lesson because it talks about expenses. So your campaign expenses are divided into three main areas: platform fees, payment fees, taxes. What is left? It's a sum of your profit and also the money that you actually need to make the game and produce it. What do you do with taxes? So it's extremely dependent on your personal situation. So I cannot give advice that is valid for everybody. These are some questions though that you should ask yourself, and they will help you assess this situation. First of all, are you a private citizen? And is this your secondary income? In some countries, there is a division between primary income and secondary income. So if you are in one such country, that's a division you need to figure out. Or on the other hand, is this your primary business? Do you have a BIT if you're in Europe? Do you have an AIN or business ID number if you are? I think these are both applicable for US and other countries. And is there a different taxation between your primary and secondary income? If you don't know the answer to any of these questions, you probably need to talk with an accountant. Actually, you really need to talk with an accountant in any case, and this is my final suggestion. We will see it later. But here's some more questions. Do you know if this kind of business that you are trying to do falls under special tax rule? It might be, there might be a special rule in your country regarding crowdfunding. It might be something that you cannot do as a private citizen, or you need a company, or you need to join a cooperative or some kind of association that has, for example, a VIT number. This is true in some countries, so please check that. Also, are you planning to sell within the EU? Because then there are some special rules with taxes. Do you have an EORI number? EORI number, it's a number that you need in Europe to sell outside of the country where your residence is. If you don't have one, you need one. And well, the last question is that, are you planning to hold some stock once the game is done? Are you planning to hold some stock of this game in a country that is not the one where you live? This is also an important question that you need an answer to. In general, I would recommend get an accountant. You cannot save money on this, and get one that understands crowdfunding at least at the general level, because the rules for crowdfunding often fall into some gray areas in many countries, and you need somebody who can suggest you the best way not to end up in trouble with the law later on. Okay. Here are a few things we learned doing this. So first of all, taxes are paid on the income for a certain period. The period in question is not necessarily from the 1st of January to the last day of December. It can change according to the country. So you need to figure out what is your period of the taxation period, okay? If you need to spend money on the production of the game, which you will likely do, the sooner you manage to spend those money, the better it is, because if you keep the money into your account, it will generally figure as income, and you will pay taxes on those money even though you know that you're going to spend them later on. There are ways to show that those money are kind of locked and that you are planning to spend them, but they're not so clear cut. So if you can buy something now for your game, buy it now. If you know that you will have to spend money for a certain thing, but you cannot spend them yet because the game is still in development and the material is not ready, right? So you might know that, okay, I'm gonna buy that a year from now because we need 50 illustrations and they're not ready, okay? And you just can't buy it now because the stuff is not ready. So the best thing you can do in that case is to get a very precise estimate from your provider, and that you give to the accountant, and the accountant might be able to account that as an expense that will happen for sure. So you won't pay the corresponding amount of money as you won't pay taxes on the corresponding amount of money. Also, Kickstarter claims everywhere that it is not a store. There are various reasons why they do that. One of them is to make taxation a bit sketchy. In our experience, that claim does not hold when you present it to an accountant. They told us in more than one country, they told us we do not care what Kickstarter think. The moment you get funds from Kickstarter, you are making a sale. So keep that in mind. It doesn't matter what Kickstarter claims. This might work in some countries. So I don't have the full picture worldwide, but at least in Europe and even outside Europe, because I've been talking with accountants in the UK, they do not care what Kickstarter says. As I mentioned, the moment you receive these funds, you made the sale. And so there's some gray area there, because technically, when somebody pledges on Kickstarter, you do not have to send them a reward. And that's also why Kickstarter says that it is not a store. You're funding a project and you do not expect a reward in exchange, even though 100% of the people that make pledges do expect a reward. So technically speaking, what they're doing is a donation. Now, this donation thing becomes an issue in many countries because, for example, in the country where I actually live at the moment, Finland, making a donation without something, making a donation and giving something in exchange is illegal. For historical reasons, it doesn't make any sense, but it's illegal. So you need to figure out how are donations treated in your specific country. And if your accountant thinks there's a way that the funding you're getting from Kickstarter ends up under that category. If it doesn't, then it counts as a sale. And here's where things get complicated. For example, if you're within Europe and you make a sale, the moment you make the sale, you, in theory, should be able to know where the customer is located physically. This is because when you make the sale, you need to pay the VAT on the goods according to the country where the customer resides in. Now, this is incredibly complicated with Kickstarter because sometimes people pledge. From the Kickstarter dashboard, the only thing you get is that their nickname is not even the full name, their email, and how much they pledged. Often, if they overpledge, you're not even sure what they want to do with the extra funds. That's why people use a pledge manager later on, so people can confirm what they actually want, and they can confirm their address. Now, you can confirm your address on Kickstarter, but very few people use the Kickstarter own pledge manager because it sucks. So what happens in practice is that you might have a delay in between when you get the funds and you are liable to pay taxes on that stuff, including VAT, and the moment where you can confirm on what you are actually paying VAT on. I'll give you an example. So let's say that somebody pledges 50 euros for, I don't know, a couple of books. Then at some point they raise their pledge and they add the 20 euros because, well, there are several add-ons on the campaign one book on the campaign, one extra book on the campaign is 20 euros, but also for 20 euros you can get some dice. Now, I do not know if that person added the funds to get the extra book or to get the dice. What's the problem? That the VAT on the book and the VAT on the dice is different. And is different according to the country where this person is located, which I do not know because that person has not confirmed their address yet. So you can see how this gets complicated very quickly. My best suggestion that I can give you here is that you set up the pledge manager as soon as possible. You might have a couple of weeks in between or a month in between where you're technically liable for some taxation, but you are unable to pay it because people have not confirmed their stuff. And as soon as possible, you make them confirm where they're based, what do they want exactly, etc. The problem with that is that not all people will do that. In our latest campaign, 93% of people confirmed what they want and where they're based. 7% of people at this point, I think it is, have not. And the puzzling thing is that they are supposed to receive physical items, so I don't know where to send them because they haven't told me. And I'm liable to pay taxes also for what they order, but I do not know where they're based. So they could be based on Mars, and then I don't have to pay VAT for that. So things are complicated, and well, the best you can do is that pay taxes according to the data that your customers are giving you, and don't pay them for if they don't give you the data, because well, you are not liable for things that people have not communicated. But again, here, get an accountant who understands crowdfunding. That is the best advice I can really give you.